Well, hey everybody, it is Chef Kibby, and it is 9 o'clock Eastern, or maybe a couple minutes after 9 o'clock Eastern, and it is March 16th, and as promised, tonight is the very first, and hopefully not the last, episode of Cooking with Kibby live at 9. I've never done anything like this before in my entire life, but I couldn't think of a better time to start than right here, right now. And so, without further ado, let's see if we can roll the theme song. Cooking with Kibby. We'll make some yummy food. Cooking with Kibby, yeah. Something that rhymes with food. So put on an apron and grab you a knife. You're gonna have the time of your life. Cooking and cutting and chopping and mixing and stirring and cooking and cutting and stuff. Cooking with Kibby. 'Cause Kibby's your cooking dude. Well, hello again, and welcome to Cooking with Kibby live at 9. My name is Chef Kibby, and Cooking with Kibby is here to help you and your family get back in the kitchen, cooking and eating together, because I believe that life is better when we're cooking together. If you haven't done so already, I highly recommend you find me on all the social media channels, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, along with YouTube. Sorry, I'm not on Snapchat or TikTok or any of the stuff the kids are on. There's just only so many social media outlets I can handle at one time. I do, however, have a podcast. I highly recommend you check that out as well. You can find me on the major podcast players, including Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and Spotify. The latest episode dropped this morning, Monday morning. The official end of Season 1 of the podcast, and Season 2 will be just around the corner. Also recommend you find my website, cookingwithkibby.com. That's where you can sign up for my email list and find all the new content that I have released in the recent days or months or years, if that's the case. Blog posts. You can find out information about live appearances. If you happen to live in the Central Ohio area and want to come and hang out with me in the kitchen, I would love to have you for one of my private kitchen sessions as soon as we're allowed to get back together again. So you can find out all that information and so much more on cookingwithkibby.com. All right. So yeah, if you are watching this live and want to join in the conversation, I highly recommend you do so. Just leave your information in the chat. Let me know where you're coming from and what it is that you want to know. Now, this has been a really difficult time for a lot of us. And you can say what you want about the stress and anxiety and the panic that is taking place in our nation right now over the coronavirus or COVID-19, however you want to describe it. Say what you will about it. It's here to stay, for at least a few weeks, if not longer. And it has had a major impact on our daily lives. I know it's had an impact on mine. As a caterer, I just got an email just a few moments ago from another one of my clients, from someone that we had planned an event coming up here in a few weeks, and given the circumstances, they had to cancel. I had a couple of events just this past weekend that, although the events canceled, they still gracefully and gratefully accepted the food that they had ordered. Didn't want to cancel that on the last minute, and very, very blessed by that. But yeah, a lot of events are being canceled. The studio from which I am coming to you right now is located at the front of Dragon Lanes, which is a bowling alley here in Marysville, Ohio, and the word came down from high above, from the governor, that places such as this, the bowling alley, could no longer be in operation. My wife is a fitness instructor for the YMCA right here in Marysville, Ohio, and she got word today that all fitness centers were going to be temporarily shut down as well. And so a lot of people are being negatively impacted by the quarantines. Another funny story is that they're saying that we should only be having meetings of up to 10 people. Fortunately, we only have 9 people in our house, so we just barely made the cutoff of how many people could be in one place at one time. So I don't mean to make light of this situation. It is a very challenging time. It's a difficult time, and my thoughts and prayers go out to any of you that are being negatively impacted by coronavirus, especially those who have fallen ill because of it. And yes, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. Now, one way that my family has not been negatively impacted by this situation has been in the kitchen. One of the practices that we've already included and incorporated as a regular habit in our family is the idea of home cooking. And we're very blessed in that sense, not only because I am a chef and have been in the food service industry for 25 years, and I'm very comfortable in and around a kitchen. But also my wife and her family are very comfortable in the kitchen as well. They've lived all over the world as missionaries and have brought their taste of food and cooking into our home as well. And so I'm very fortunate that I live in a situation where there's a lot of people that are comfortable being in the kitchen, and it's no problem to make a home-cooked meal and to develop a menu plan and to put together recipes and a shopping list and all the things that come with a regular, normal, consistent habit of home cooking. Now, that's not the case for a lot of people, and that may not be the case for you tonight. And if a regular habit of home cooking is not a part of your normal daily life, this could be causing a lot of stress, especially now that restaurants and other food service establishments are starting to close their doors as well. If you are one of those families that are in a regular habit of going out to eat or ordering in, this could be causing a lot of complication for you. This is a major disruption in your normal family patterns. If that's the case, I want you to know that just because you are isolated from the world around you, that doesn't mean that you are alone in this circumstance. There's a lot of people that are struggling with the same issues and complications that you are. And I want you to know that I am here to help. That is why I'm going to be doing this. That's why I'm going to be doing Cookin' with Kibby live at 9 every night this week. And to be honest, I don't know how often I'm going to end up doing this or for how long I'm going to do the live at 9s. And who knows, I might even add another time period throughout the day if it ends up being more convenient for you. I'm a dad, a biological foster and adoptive parent, and so I planned it at 9 o'clock kind of for my own convenience as well, because I wanted to be able to be at home with my family, sitting down to the table, eating with them. I'm going to be preparing a lot of meals with my kiddos later on this week, and I wanted to be around to help put them to bed and then, hop in the car and head over to Cookin' with Kibby Studios so that I can be with you for as long as it takes in order to answer those burning kitchen questions. Now, hopefully, when I say burning kitchen questions, that doesn't mean a question about your burning kitchen. If that's the case, then you need to notify authorities immediately. But if that's not the case, if we're talking about a kitchen question that is burning on your mind, you're standing in the kitchen for the first time in a long time, faced with the predicament of having to prepare a home-cooked meal for your family. That can cause a lot of anxiety for some people. And if that's the case, I want to know how it is I can help you. What sort of content can I put together? What sort of questions can I answer for you right here, right now, or in a future episode of Live at 9 that could ease some of that stress and anxiety for you? There are no questions that are out of bounds, and honestly, there should be no shame in what questions you may bring to the table here, because I've talked to a lot of people, even people my age, which you may be surprised by my age, as a matter of fact, that because they weren't raised in homes where home cooking was a normal part of their daily experience, they don't know how to do simple things like cook pasta or crack an egg or anything like that, or roast vegetables. So many things that me, because of my background and my experience, I take for granted as things that other people know how to do. That may not be the case for you. And I want to know, what are those things that are things that you would like to do for your family, with your family, that could help make your kitchen experience a more pleasurable, more enjoyable, more productive experience. If you're joining into the live stream right now, I would love for you to join in the chat and let me know who you are, where you're watching this from, and if you have any questions for me so that I can answer them live and in person. Just a second while I wipe off my nose here. 'Tis the season. Also, because this is my first time doing a live stream like this, it would be encouraging to know that if you're watching, that you can hear me. I can hear myself, and I can see, the dial moving on my screen. But just give me a shout out, give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can see me, let me know that you can hear me, and we'll continue the show from here. Now, I had a conversation with someone earlier today that was talking about easy recipes for kids. Dr. Laura, hope you get a chance to watch this. Thank you so much for responding to my post earlier on today. I love to hear from people that are consuming my content and know what it is that I can do to serve them. So the question was, what were some recipes that can be done with kiddos? Now, I will say first of all, to answer this question, I don't really have a whole lot of kid-friendly recipes because, quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of recipes in the first place. I've talked about this on my podcast. You can go back and listen to some of the episodes at your leisure. But to be honest with you, a recipe is just one person's idea of how one dish could be prepared. Not even necessarily how it tastes, just how it's prepared. Because I have seen, as a culinary instructor at a local community college, one of the best culinary programs in the region, by the way, I have seen firsthand what can happen when different people execute the exact same recipe. I've seen culinary arts students, some of them have already been working in the industry, take a single recipe, say a chocolate chip cookie recipe. I can have six teams of young adults and some not so young adults make the exact same recipe, and it could turn out six different ways. And it's sometimes with hilarious results, but it makes a point that recipes don't necessarily ensure what the outcome is going to be. And so I do use recipes from time to time. I like using recipes as a framework, a starting point for negotiation, if you will. But at the end of the day, it's just one person's idea. And you're a sensible person. You have ideas of your own as well. So trust your intuition. I know it's a lot easier to trust your intuition as you get more comfortable in the kitchen. But suffice to say, I don't have a long list of recipes that I can just hand over to you. What I do have are some general concepts and ideas of how you can begin to incorporate inviting your kiddos into the kitchen. I'm going to see if I can bring them up on the screen here. There we go. Kids in the kitchen. How to involve them. All right. So, first of all, why? Why would you want to invite your kids in the kitchen? Some of you may be asking yourself that question right now. Why would I want my kids in the kitchen? Well, there's a lot of benefits to it. And first of all, bringing them into the kitchen teaches them some very valuable life skills. Cooking is more than just what goes on the stovetop. Cooking involves math, it involves science and chemistry and physics, history, as well as things like problem solving and communication and handling stress. There's a lot of things that your kiddos can learn by being involved in the cooking process. Secondly, being in the kitchen builds confidence and self-esteem. There's nothing quite like the feeling that you get, and even as an adult as well, I still experience this from time to time. There's nothing quite like serving food to someone else and seeing their eyes light up, and to hear them give the oohs and ahs and ums and all those yum sounds that are made. There's something that really builds your self-confidence when you've created something on a plate that other people are enjoying. I can think of a specific example. Just a few days ago, I was doing some recipe testing for a St. Patrick's Day dish that I had created. It was a chocolate mint Irish cream cheesecake. I know, I live such a tough life that I have to do research and development like this. But I knew in my head that it was going to be a good dish, but I still wanted to make it. I wanted to try it and see how it turned out. And lo and behold, it was a delicious dish. And it's one for which I am very proud. And that meant a lot to me, not only because I had already sold 7 of them to catering clients, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to work, but also I still get a lot of satisfaction out of creating something that other people enjoy. Imagine how much more of a truth that is for a young person that gets invited into the kitchen. So just think about that. Thirdly, being in the kitchen can increase their willingness to try new things. Now, this brings up a conversation I had with someone at the grocery store across the street from here, just moments before I showed up here at the studio. I was talking to a young woman who has had issues in the past with a kiddo of hers that has certain sensitivities, not even an allergy sensitivity, but more of a texture sensitivity to certain foods. It can create a real problem when you have a picky eater, and I've talked about this in previous blog posts and on the Cookin with Kibby podcast. But one of the things that inviting your kiddos into the kitchen can do is studies have shown and anecdotal evidence suggests that when you invite a child into the kitchen to help prepare a meal, they are more likely to want to try the food that has been prepared. And I think it's kind of self-explanatory, but anytime that you have your hand in something, you want to be involved in the results of it, especially if those results are good results. And so if you do have a picky eater, there's a good chance that by involving them in the process of preparing that dish, and it doesn't have to be anything too spectacular or involved, and I'll give some examples of some things that they can do on the next slide. But having them involved in the cooking process gives them a vested interest in wanting to taste and try and enjoy the food that they've helped prepare. So keep that in mind if you have a picky eater. Still got those sniffles. Thankfully, it's just a runny nose. All right. Last but not least, being in the kitchen with you builds stronger relationships. I have found in my personal life, again, as a biological foster and adoptive dad, there is nothing quite like the experience, the shared activity of cooking and eating with those that I love, my kiddos, to build stronger and deeper, more meaningful attachments with them. Again, I've shared a lot of this information in a recent podcast episode. I invite you to go and listen to that at your leisure. But inviting a child into the kitchen communicates something to them in a way that no other language can. It communicates the desire to spend time with them. It communicates the desire to teach them things, and it communicates a level of trust that goes very deep, because let's face it, preparing food for other people is a sacred trust. It takes a lot of trust to be able to not just put a knife in someone else's hand, but to give them a part in creating food that other people are going to eat and consume, and in a very kind of metaphysical sort of way, become a part of them. And kids might not necessarily be able to communicate any of those things, but deep down inside they feel it. And they know that when they've been entrusted to come alongside mommy or daddy or grandma or grandpa or whatever loved one happens to be in the kitchen with them, they know that it is something special and it is something valuable and it's something meaningful. And if there's anything our kiddos need right now, it's healthy attachments to the grown-ups in their lives. I have seen too often in this world young people who are facing a mental health crisis, and they're struggling to find their place in this world. They're struggling with thoughts of not being valuable, of having a life that's not worth living, of not living up to their own expectations, let alone the expectations of other people in their lives. And I am fully convinced that the shared act of cooking and eating with our young people is a beautiful and wonderful way to build resilience into our young people. If that's something I can help you to incorporate into your family's life, I would love to help. Please reach out to me even after this video is done recording. You can email me through my website. You can email me at podcast@cookinwithkibby.com. You can send a message to me through my Facebook channel or Instagram DM. However you want to reach me, I hope and pray that you do so. Just seeing what messages are popping up on my phone. Again, if you are taking part in the live stream, even if you don't have a question, I would love for you to join in the chat and just let me know that you are here and let me know that the live chat is actually working. Again, this is my first time doing this, and so I haven't quite figured out all the technology that goes into making this happen. All right. First of all, loading and unloading the dishwasher. That's an easy task to unload, if you will, on your kiddos, especially those that are taller and can, reach the cupboards and things like that. That's not usually a task that us grown-ups want to do anyway, so getting a kid to do it, it's a plus. All right, let's see. Folding napkins. I don't know how many of you use cloth napkins. I'm sure you can find videos here on YouTube on how to fold napkins decoratively. I personally don't know how to do too much decorative napkin folding, but it's something fun that you can do with the kids. And again, it's an opportunity for creativity with your young people. Cracking eggs. I have a picture there of my little one. That's a picture of her when I believe she was probably about 4 years old. I guess I should be looking over here because the way you see it, the video's over, the picture on the screen is over here. So that is a picture of my then 4-year-old cracking eggs into an egg separator. And I tell you what, even if she was in the middle of dress-up time, she's wearing a pretty princess dress, it doesn't matter. She will put on an apron over her pretty princess dress and come into the kitchen if it means getting to come and crack some eggs, because it's a way that she can contribute to making supper with her family. Washing fruits and vegetables. This is a very productive thing that a young person can do in the kitchen. Have a scrub brush, some running cool water, and they can go to town, especially if you have some potatoes that you're trying to get scrubbed. I don't believe, at least I haven't seen thus far, knock on whatever material this is, I haven't seen a kiddo scrub a potato too hard. I mean, I'm sure if they got a little overzealous, they might be able to scrub the skin off, but I haven't seen that happen yet. So that's a task that you can kind of let them have their fun in the sink and go to town scrubbing those fruits or vegetables. Rinsing rice before cooking. That's especially important when you're cooking Japanese rice to get some of the loose starch off of the outside. Let's see. Picking or tearing herbs is another thing you can do. Sorry, the visual on the screen is a little bit small, so it's kind of hard for me to read. I have to put my reading glasses on. Let's see. Measuring dry ingredients, peeling fruits, blending batters, that stirring motion. You see that in the picture over here to my left of stirring a batter. I believe that's for making cornbread. I think we'll be doing that again this week. We'll be making some soup. Let's see, what else? Mixing up ingredients for making meatballs or meatloaf or even hamburgers. Just that sensory activity that I talked about on a recent episode of the Cookin' with Kibby podcast. A great way to involve your kiddos in the kitchen. Washing the dishes, again, washing the dishes by hands. There are some dishes that can't be put in the dishwasher, and letting the kiddos do that by hand is a great way to involve them in the kitchen. And sometimes it doesn't even necessarily have to be that productive of a job. If you just want to fill up the sink with hot soapy water and let them scrub away and maybe pretend that they're getting things clean, that can be just a great way of having them in the kitchen with you. Part of the magic, the joy, the benefit of having the kiddos in the kitchen with you is not necessarily that they're helping you achieve a certain end goal or accomplish something. Part of it is just having them in the room with you, and particularly having them in the room with you slightly distracted, because that opens up opportunities for you to have discussions with them in a way that is a little bit less awkward and intimidating. It's one thing to have a conversation with mom or dad directly across the table. It's another thing when, dad has his hands on the onions or other vegetables on the cutting board, and the kiddo is over at the sink washing dishes. You both have some distractions going on, and so it makes it a little bit easier to have conversations. I've heard a similar story about folks who enjoy talking to their kiddos, taking them to school or bringing them home from school. You have your eyes on the road, they have their eyes out the window or at a book or a magazine, and it just allows for a more convenient conversation to take place. Last but not least, sorting recyclables. I don't know about you, but we recycle as much as possible, and this is an activity, again, that I can give to one of my younger kiddos to do, and to sort the paper from the plastic, from the aluminum, and most of the time they get things right. They get it pretty close, but it's something that they can take pride in and they can do to help out mommy and daddy in the kitchen. Kids, if you're foster or adoptive or kinship family, whatever the case may be, however it is that you have kids in your life, I'm a firm believer that cooking with those kiddos that we love is a great way to involve them in our lives and to involve ourselves in their lives as well, and to create a stronger, deeper, more meaningful attachments with them. If you haven't done so already, you can find me on the social media channels such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel right here and ring the bell for notifications so that you know the next time I'm going to be going live or releasing another valuable piece of content. All right. I'm not seeing any questions pop up on the chat. I know earlier I was having some issues connecting with the chat, and so I don't know if maybe people have been putting in questions and I'm just not seeing them. If that's the case, I will go through and review things and see if there were any questions that were put into the chat while I was standing here talking. Trust me, I was not ignoring any of you. This is a very new thing for me, and the reason that I am doing it is because, well, I know that there are people out there that need it. I've talked to them, I've seen them at the grocery stores, I have talked to them online, and I know that there are people in need of encouragement and support, because a lot of you out there are not accustomed to the idea of spending time cooking and eating for your families. And our patterns have been disrupted. If that's the case for you, I want to hear from you. I want to know how I can help you, how I can support you, how I can encourage you. And best of all, I think that some amazing and tremendous and wonderful things can come about out of this crisis. Because if anything positive can be a result of this, it could be that families grow closer together and that they form stronger relationships between parents and children. And one of the best ways you can do that is by cooking and eating with the ones you love, because I believe life is better when we're cooking together. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you can know the next time I go live. And until next time, I'll see you in the kitchen. End it.